Welcome back, friends. As part of our DevOps learning series, we are in day 9. We are going to look at about conditional expression in Linux. Okay. So before that, we have learnt about grep and we learnt about other shell scripting basics, right? So let's put those things into our implementation. Let's go back to our script directory. Okay. Let's look at our script how it looks like. Okay. So this is a script which you have written, right? So now as part of yesterday's session, we have completely analyzed like what are the various options which we can use along with the grep and other details, right? So let us assume that now, okay, now there is a request to look for an Oracle user. So what is the best and effective way to check that if it's present in etc password? So the best way is to use whole world search. So basically I want to match the exact word search, right? So I am going to use the exact word search. So -w because it matches only the exact word which you are given. That is means the Oracle. In case that someone has created user Oracle 1 or Oracle 2, those will not be matched by this. Okay. So this is the best practice which we need to follow. Okay. Now we have added that. So let's go back to our prompt now. Okay. Now we know that cat /etc /passwd grep-w Oracle. So when I do that, I am getting some output. So what are the ways we can do that, right? So the first way, there are multiple ways to do that. I am going to explain you. There are two important ways of checking whether the user is present or not. Okay, this will be used in many real-time use cases. So believe me, friends, most of the Linux scripts will have this command. As part of your DevOps role, whenever you write, you will be using this. Okay, first, so whenever I am executing, I am getting some output. So what happens here, we are seeing the output, so we know that this is present. uh, in case of scripting, how does we make sure the script understand there is an output value displayed? So what can I do? I can assign this value to a variable. Okay, and I can check if that variable has any value or not. So that we can do, correct? Okay, let me do that now. So let me open our ex3 script. So rather than just executing it as a command, so usually this is how you have to grow your shell scripting knowledge, and this is how you have to increase your coding practice. Okay, now I am going to use a variable called check user. Okay, so now I am going to assign a variable for the output of this command, correct? So if I put like this, right, just check user equal to cat etc grep-w user, it means that it as it get assigned with a value called cat, and it's error out saying like I cannot find what is etc password or grep or something like that. Okay, because I cannot use spaces while assigning. So that's the reason if I want to assign a command output to a variable, there is a special uh, boundary you have to include. What does that boundary means that, right? So if I want to ensure that output is getting assigned, I need to enclose this with a tick symbol. Okay, remember guys, this is not a single quote, this is a tick, which is nothing but in your keyboard along with your tilde symbol there will be a small hyphen kind of thing, that is called, so not an hyphen, an quotation kind of thing, that is called tick symbol. So I'm going to use that tick symbol now. So you see this, right? So most of the places this leads to a confusion. What happens is most of the places when tick symbol is used, people does not realize that okay, this is a tick symbol, and they treat this as a single quotes and get into trouble. Okay, now I have assigned the output to a variable. Let me print that output. So in order to print an output of a variable, you always use dollar. See, when while declaring, your variable should not have dollar symbol. If you want to print or if you want to use a value of a variable anywhere, you need to use dollar in Linux. That's a basic thing. Okay, now let's see what happens. Okay, again, that's fine. Let's forget about this permission denied error for now. We will fix that later. Now, if you see, the output is coming from the variable. Okay, great. Now, let's go back and look at our script. Okay. So now I have assigned it to a variable. How do I check if this variable has some value in it or not programmatically? Okay, in usual in programming world, right, we used to check if variable w equal to empty, then print user not exist, else print user exist. So bear with my typo. Okay, so now if you realize, right, in general we do that. Okay, if variable w equal to empty, we will check something like this. What does it mean? We are doing a conditional expression. Okay, so usually in every programming language, if you are aware of any programming language, C, Java, C++, or whatever it is, you will be knowing something like if statements. Okay, if else statement, they call it as if else statement. Similar way, Linux also provides you an if else statements to check, okay, or if you evaluate any condition. Okay, now that's the same thing we are going to use, but syntactically there will be like minor changes in shell script, right? So if you compare the syntax between Java and PHP or Java with any other programming language, there will be the functionality, the basic core functionality is same, but the way they get implemented or the syntactical wise, it may have small differences. Let me try to explain you what are those differences in Linux. Okay, so in Linux, if statements goes like this. If, so usually in programming languages you will enclose with this parenthesis, right? So we don't use parenthesis in Linux, we use square brackets. If a less than b, okay, semicolon, or you have to put then at the below. So you know, right, when it comes to if, there will be an else statement, or you can just have an if statement alone also. If some statement. Okay, so usually in programming languages, how it would be, if a parenthesis, then you will open a flower basis, do some statement, then you will close the flower basis. This is how like the normal programming languages works. Okay, what does this flower basis denotes? The start and end of the if. Okay, here if starts and it gets ends here. The same way in Linux there is a few differences which you need to understand. So in Linux the end is denoted by the reverse of if. We end the statement with fi. It means that you don't use any flower braces or anything here. So wherever it sees fi, it means that if started here and it gets ends here. The same applies to all the logics, like if you look at while condition, it start with while, the same pattern, right? While condition, do and done, case, statement, and you will have like a b some cases, right, in every languages. The same applies here, and it ends with ESAC. So the reverse of it will be like the end statement. The same way applies for looping, right? If you go for statements, sorry, condition or iterator, whatever you want to call it as, do done. So if you look at, this is a syntax. If we'll take if, then fi, while do done, for do done, case ESAC. So that if you look at all this end, right, we don't use any flower basis or any notation. If you go with Python, you follow the indentation pattern. Even Python does not have any flower basis or anything, but it follows some standard called indentation. So if statement needs to use something, it should be indented properly. The same way in Linux, it uses this kind of notations. Hope I am making clear. Okay, because I don't want to go into details of each and everything, because like very well these are available over the internet as a document or anything, so I don't want to go everything in detail. I want to ensure that you guys understand the basic concept of implementing this in the shell script. So that's the main intention. Okay, now I have a variable called check user. So let me delete this one. So now I am going to introduce to you a if statement. If now what I want to check, in my case I want to evaluate a variable called check user. Okay, so what should I check? If check user equal to empty. Okay, so let us try that, right? So if I use semicolon here, it can be written in the same line, or else I can write the then in the second line. Both works in the same way. Okay, now I am going to type echo user does not exist. So the same way else. Okay, echo user exist. So the end statement is fi. Let us see how this works. So what it says? It says user exist because the variable is not empty. So now what we are checking is whether the variable has any value in it or not. Okay, guys, if you are not understanding, just please let me know in your comment section so that I can even repeat it in another session also. Okay, so let's go here. Okay, control cancel vaex3. So for time being I am just going to disable this command so that it does not prompt me anything. Let us go one by one. Okay, that's great. So okay, Kumar, you did like, okay, check user equal to empty. Okay, is that the same way I can use it in your actual scripting? Yes, this is one of the way. Okay, for any problem there will be a multiple solution, means that multiple way of achieving the solution. Okay, for a problem there will be one solution, but the way that Kumar achieved the solution will be different, the way that Naresh achieved the solution will be different. Okay, so this is one among the way. Okay, so let me explain you the other ways also. So what I do, let me save this, I don't want to disturb this script, let it be. Let me copy this script using cp command ex3 to ex4 view ex4, so that I will update these commands all the scripts to my GitHub repository so that you can use that in later point of time if you want to refer back. Okay, so what are the other options, Kumar? So Linux provide certain options to check if a variable is 0 or not. Okay, let me introduce that to you guys. So let me delete this. So there is something like -z. Okay, what -z does is it checks if a variable is of 0 byte or not. Basically, whether it checks basically it's an empty or not. So what I am saying, if it is empty, user does not exist. If it is not empty, user exists. So I am going to show you this option too. So it says user exist. So okay, let us try with some different user which does not exist, so that we will understand whether our function like if statement correctly works. So okay, let me remove e because I have used like word search. Let's see whether the grep is also working fine, just to ensure. User does not exist. Yeah, that's perfectly fine because the user orcl does not exist. Okay, now let me show you this thing. If let's assume if you have not learned what is W and if you are not using it, let's see what happens. Oh no, it says user exists, and you try to, your code will try to disable that user and it fails in that step because that user really does not exist. As we have not done the word match, it just match the user oracle. Okay, let's see what's happening. Oh sorry. Okay, see what happens is this ORACL is getting matched with oracle. That's the reason like our script is giving wrong output. So based on your situation and based on the need, you have to choose the right options to use along with the comments. So here using -w is makes us very appropriate. So that's why we are using -w. If people have not watched our grep detailed explanation video, please go and watch that before you even proceed with this session, because we are going in an order of like how it needs to be used. Okay, now I found that if user does not exist, exit my script. So how do I exit? It's similar in all the programming language. You just type exit, it will just exit out of the script. Okay, maybe you can add return codes, let's say like 200 something. Any return code x other than 0 is all a failure. Okay, so any number you can give. Okay, so what should I do if user exists? If user exists, I need to take the username alone, or I can take the username from the input, or I need to take the username from the output which I am getting from cat etc password. Okay, anything you can use. Let's use the username what we have given as an input for now. Let me change this to Oracle. Okay, now what should I do? I need to modify this one. Okay, if I want to modify, I should be part of root, because root alone will have access to do that. So in order to make sure the user uses the appropriate root privilege, there are some other settings which needs to be added to DevOps. Okay, right now our DevOps user like ID DevOps. DevOps is just part of DevOps account. It does not even have administrative privilege. It can control only this. And for any commands to take a temporarily, any command can temporarily even act as a root using some called sudo. We call it as sudo access. Okay, if I want to make myself as a root to perform some operation, I can grant myself an root privilege using which I can execute the command which can be executed only by root. So DevOps can use sudo user mod. Okay, if I want to change -a Oracle user, Oracle -s slash sbin no login, it should work. But ideally in my case it does not work because I have not done the setup yet. So as part of our tomorrow session, what I am going to do, I am going to explain you what are the settings which will be done in order for an user to take a sudo role. Okay, then we will continue forward with our use case. Okay, thanks for watching. If you guys feel this is helpful and interesting, please share with your friends and subscribe and support me.